Jewelry stores across Ontario have become the target of a growing wave of robberies. Bold, organized, and devastating. These crimes are leaving communities shocked. What's happening, and how did we get here? Let's dive in. On December 4th, 2024, a robbery shook the Markville shopping center in Markham. 10 masked individuals stormed a jewelry store, smashing display cases with hammers while shocked bystanders looked on. 6 suspects, some as young as 15, were arrested. Shockingly, several were already out on bail for similar offenses. Stolen cars, including a Honda Civic and an SUV, were used and later abandoned. And this isn't an isolated incident. Earlier this year, Tamil-owned jewelry stores across the Greater Toronto area became frequent targets. These heists appear to be part of a larger, more organized network involving young people, including students, recruited to carry out these crimes.
These robberies follow a distinct pattern. Stolen vehicles are used for quick getaways, while young individuals, often first-time offenders, carry out the heists. Reports suggest that these students are promised cash rewards, or in some cases drugs. Initially, Tamil-owned stores were targeted, but the crimes have expanded to malls and other businesses, showing the reach and coordination of these organized gangs. Canada's legal system is under scrutiny. Critics argue that lenient bail laws enable repeat offenders. Several suspects arrested in these cases were already out on bail. This raises urgent questions. Are our laws too soft on organized crime? Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's government has also faced criticism for its lenient drug policies, which some argue contribute to youth exploitation. Marijuana legalization and relaxed enforcement have created a gray area where vulnerable students fall prey to criminal networks. These crimes have devastated local businesses, especially those owned by Tamil Canadian entrepreneurs. Hardworking families are losing their livelihoods, and communities are living in fear. The involvement of Tamil youth in these crimes adds another layer of heartbreak. Organized gangs are exploiting cultural and economic vulnerabilities, tarnishing the reputation of an entire community. To combat this crisis, we need action. Stricter bail laws are essential to deter repeat offenders. Increased funding for youth programs can prevent vulnerable students from falling into criminal networks. Communities must come together to educate young people and work with law enforcement to address gang recruitment. Canada's drug laws also need reevaluation, with an emphasis on preventing substance abuse and supporting rehabilitation. These robberies are more than just crimes, they're a wake-up call. We must address the systemic issues driving this crisis. Together, as a community, how Canada's multicultural society, particularly in Ontario, once relied on religious education to instill moral values in students. The absence of structured teaching about moral principles such as love, kindness, and the fear of God has left a void in the moral development of young people. In the United States, biblical values were once a cornerstone of education, and teaching biblical principles in schools was more common in earlier periods of American history. Western culture, including its legal systems and societal values, has been profoundly influenced by biblical teachings. Democracy, as a form of governance, often relies on moral foundations, and many argue that the Bible has played a crucial role in shaping these values. Interestingly, when Chinese law enforcement studied democratic values, they reportedly found that churches had a significant role in maintaining and fostering democratic principles. However, in recent decades, the cultural and moral landscape in Europe, Canada, and America has shifted away from biblical values. This departure has coincided with an increase in immorality, societal violence, and a decline in human values, reflecting the proportional impact of this cultural drift. Let's think about sports. How many athletes have spoken shamelessly about their beliefs towards Jesus?
That 9 years ago, you're coaching in high school, and here you are with this trophy.
I can only give the praise to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for giving me this opportunity.
Thank God. That's all I can say. Jesus Christ.
Okay, thank you. You don't have nothing to do with it.
Nah, that's all him.
You know, Jesus saved us, and Jesus is the only answer.
In His name that we go out there and perform and compete and use the gifts He's given us in the right way.
Gave myself to the Lord, wanted to be a Christian. 2004, when I got married, I kind of went away from it, went to the University of Georgia.
God has a purpose. He brings me back into His kingdom to use me to glorify His name.
And these are just a few. Let's take as an example the roots that these athletes received and how they can promote good values. Ontario's multicultural communities, including Tamil, South Asian, and other immigrant groups, often see moral and religious values as central to family life and societal well-being. The lack of integration of these values in schools leaves a gap, especially for families that depend on schools to reinforce the teachings from home. The removal of religious education has contributed to a growing sense of moral decay, affecting how young people interact with each other and their communities. By reintroducing moral principles into education, we can foster a generation that values compassion, responsibility, and the strength to choose good over evil.